What up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your guy, Some. Hit the keys. Here today to talk about is originality dead in music, and is it YouTube's fault? Make sure if you guys do like this content though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. With no further delay, let's get right into the video, baby. Some, hit the key. All right, guys, so I definitely want to start off by saying that this is definitely not a shot at any YouTuber. It's not a shot at any producer. It's not a shot at any artist, any musician, anything like that. But over the last few years or so, it seems like more and more songs are all starting to sound the same or similar. Production's starting to sound similar. Artists are starting to sound similar, like the way that they're singing, the tools that they're using, so on and so forth. And so in today's video, I kind of wanted to talk about maybe some of the reasons why that is happening and what we as artists and producers can do, you know what I'm saying, to bring back some originality in our culture. So is music unoriginal now, and is YouTube to blame for this? The answer is yes and no. I'll go ahead and break that down for you guys. So basically, the biggest thing probably in the hip hop production community or YouTube production community right now is probably still tight beats. When you think about tight beats, what is a tight beat? Well, a tight beat is basically a beat that is an artist type beat, like whether it's the Baby, Lil Baby, J. Cole, or whatever it is type beat. A lot of these type beats are based off of the last hit song that this artist had, so on and so forth. So basically what a lot of producers do, as you guys know, I shouldn't have to explain this, is that they'll watch a lot of beat tutorials on type beats and stuff like that. And then they'll start cultivating their, production style around this type beat. Well, what this does is it doesn't move forward the culture in productions, if that makes sense. Because if you're trying to chase the last hit sound of an artist, then you're not moving forward. Everything that you're doing is kind of copying what the last person's formula was to success. So I want to show you guys something real quick. All right, so as we look here, we have 1998, the year in hip hop. So I know we're going back 25 years, but stick with me, it'll make sense. It's hip hop 50 anyway, so we should be talking about the past, the present, and the future. But these were the top 10 albums of the year. So we have Jay-Z, In My Lifetime, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life. We have Lauryn Hill, The Best Education of Lauryn Hill. We have Outkast, Aquemini. We have DMX, It's Dark and Hell Is Hot. We have Master P, The Last Don. We have Noriega, Nori. We have Big Punisher, Capital Punishment. We have 8 Ball Lost. We have Gangstar, Moment of Truth. And we have Maze Harlem World. So these were the top 10 hip hop albums of the year. Now, if you'll notice something about these hip hop albums is that all of these albums are different. And so this is really the golden era of hip hop was, between 95 to 2005 or something like that. That's really the golden era of hip hop. So if you look at each one of these artists, we have situations where it's like Jay-Z, DMX, Noriega, Big Pun, Mace, Gangstar. They're all from the New York area or from, the Northeast. And none of their music sounds similar. It doesn't sound nothing like, each of the other artists. And then we have Outkast, we have Master P, we have 8 Ball. They're all from the South. None of their music sounds alike either. And so if you think about the past hip hop, the big thing was you were always trying to sound different. You were never trying to sound like the next artist. So you weren't chasing previous artists' sound. You were thinking about how you can move the sound forward, how you can move the culture forward by your next album or by your next track or by the next single album, whatever it is that you dropped. And I feel like today's society is much different than that. Because in today's society, as there are great things in music that we didn't have back in the day, like back in the day, there was no producer trying to give out any tips at all about how they produce tracks, about how they mix albums, about how they got their drums to sound the way that they did. It was like everybody hoarded all the information that they had, and it was just an inclusive club. You had to be in the club in order to know. Things were much more expensive back in the day. So you actually had to have like an MPC. You actually had to have like a Phantom. you actually had to have like musical equipment in order to produce beats. And I feel like part of why we have a lot of similar sounding beats and similar sounding songs now in 2023 is because access to music has never been so easy. So anybody can get a copy of FL Studio, anybody can get a copy of Ableton, Logic, so on and so forth. It's not really that expensive. You can get FL Studio Producer Edition for $200. You can get Logic for $200. You can get Ableton for like $300. You can get all these programs for a pretty cost-efficient amount, and then you can make your own beats. You can get applications on your phone and make beats on your phone. You can record into your phone now, and you can clean that up and use that as your vocal tape. You can get microphones cheaper. Interfaces are better than they've ever been. I mean, really, equipment in a whole is now better than it's ever been. So now, typically, you don't have to be in love with music like in the past. You had to love music in order to do music. It wasn't necessarily the idea of being a star or being famous or what you can get or chasing clout or all that stuff. You had to love music in order to do it, because it wasn't like the most popular thing. Like in 1998, there wasn't that many rappers. There wasn't a place, venues where you could just go do shows. It wasn't all that stuff, wasn't that easy access. But nowadays you can go anywhere and get a show. You can go to any bar and throw a show. Again, there's studios everywhere. People have home studios. People have everything that they need in order to record music. So as we look over here, one of the things that's killing the culture is tight beats. So as we see here, if you type in how to make a Lil Baby type beat and you just scroll, every producer on YouTube tries to make type beats for Lil Baby. Because you see all these are placement ready for Lil Baby. You know what I'm saying? Make beats for Lil Baby. Make beats for Lil Baby. How to Lil Baby type beat. You know what I'm saying? Lil Tony type beat, but when you look into the description, Lil Baby type beat. You know, Lil Baby type beat. So it's like you can keep scrolling and you can scroll on forever and ever and ever. And there's always going to be Lil Baby type beats or whoever the artist is. I just use Lil Baby just for the moment. But we can come up here and scroll too. So just so that you know, if we go through filters and we just look through like the last week. So this last week, look, 6 hours ago, how to make dark trap beats for Lil Baby, you know, making plugins for Lil Baby type beats, you know. Lil Baby and future producers make 50 beats in 3 days. Free Lil Baby type beat, free Lil Baby type beat, free Lil Baby type beat. So it's like all we have is like people consistently trying to make Lil Baby type beats. That's what they're selling in their stores. That's what they're promoting to people. And it's not just Lil Baby. So let's say we type in, I know it's popular right now, so a Yeet type beat, right? So I probably spelled it wrong. So look, you know, we come here and all the popular YouTubers are gonna do that. You know, you see we have J Cactus, you see we have Bro Beats, you know, we have every artist and every producer is trying to make Yeet type beats, you know, and there's always a tutorial for it. So what I feel like the issue is and how we can fix that is really a lot of the onus falls on us, the producer, and not the YouTube community. So I'm not putting all the blame on, you know, people in the YouTube, you know, producer community, because obviously they're just trying to get views, they're just trying to get clicks so that they can make money and so that their channel can continue to grow. But instead of continuing to go and find every single little Yeet tutorial so you can make 10 different Yeet type beats, you just take those principles that you're learning in these videos and then you apply it to creating a different kind of sound, or creating your sound, or cultivating your sound, or making these beats just basically sound different, basically pushing the culture forward. That should always be the focus, is how can you create the new sound? How can you create the next sound? So if you guys remember a ways back, you know, T-Pain went on this rant, and on this rant, he talked about, you know, we already have a Drake, we already have a Lil Baby, we already have all these artists. I'll just play a quick clip for that real quick.
Do some different music. We have all the shit that you're doing. We already have it. Lil Uzi Vert is already doing it. Lil Baby is already doing it. Dub Baby is already doing it. It's literally 2 niggas with baby in their names that's already doing all the music you want. Do something else. Do something else. That's it. That's all we want. Do something else. Holy shit. We have it. We have it already. You don't have to do that music anymore. We have the music already. We have Lil Baby. We have Da Baby. We have Lil Uzi Vert. We have Lil Yachty. We have Lil everybody. Do something else.
I'm just saying, yo, every time I see that clip, I laugh. But he's not lying. You know, we have all these artists who are the original artists. So it's like, we don't need another Lil Baby artist. We don't need another Lil Yachty. We don't need another Da Baby. We don't need another Drake. We don't need another, Lil Wayne, none of that other stuff. We need a first you. And that's how all those artists blew up, is because they were the first them. It's not like, most of them copied somebody else's style. And so like, what's kind of frustrating about like the YouTube space is you'll see like with AI technology right now, everybody wants to get on this AI technology where they're taking artists' voice and making songs with these artists' voice. Well, we don't need an AI Drake. We already have enough Drake's, songs. Drake got 10 records out, Drake got 10 albums out. If we want to hear another Drake song, we can just go hear a Drake album, What we want to hear is the next you or the next young artist that you're working with. And it's kind of frustrating in this space too, because you see like a lot of YouTubers, this is no shot to Kyle Beats, but I'm going to use him as an example. So Kyle Beats has, stuff where he, does, records artists and stuff like that. And one of his friends is an artist, but one of his friends is an exact replica of Drake. And it's like, that dude's never going to blow up because he raps like Drake, his cadence is like Drake, he sounds like Drake, he tries to do everything just like Drake. And it's like, bro, we already have another Drake. We don't need another one of those. Why don't you switch it up and rap like you, find your own voice and find your own cadence and all this other stuff. You got Kyle Beats supporting you, backing you up. You could probably blow up and you probably could make some good money doing this, but you just gotta be original. Or it's like a lot of YouTubers who are bigger do content like that. Like I found the next Lil Baby, or I found the next Lil Yachty, or I found the next Uzi Vert, and then it'll be them doing a song or a track or a video with this artist that sounds like somebody else. And it's like, again, like T-Pain just said, we already have them. We don't need any more artists that sound the same. Like here, we'll look here at Snoop Dogg. So Snoop Dogg talks about when he first got into the game and what it was like.
Advice that I would give all of the rappers in the game is to be original. That's one thing about, when I came out, originality was a must. You had to sound like you had to be you had to have your own everything. And I just feel like it's a lot of, mimicking going on because it's a fad and everybody feels like what's hot, we're going to do what's hot. We're going to rap the same way. We're going to rap over the same beats.
I mean, and he's right. Everybody wants to do what the last person did because it's a fad. And in today's society, a lot of mimicking and copycatting is what makes people blow up on social media. So think about TikTok or IG Reels or anything like that. What's the fad? People do the same dances and they blow up doing the same dances. People, do the same exact video skits and then they blow up doing those video skits. So it's like people see that, especially in today's landscape when everybody has a quick attention span. They think the easiest way to blow up is just being a copycat or mimicking other people. When honestly, if you just create good music, the best way that you could probably blow up is creating good music. Another thing that is probably killing music and originality, I hate to say it, this is no shot at anybody who uses the tool, it's gotta be autotune. Again, if you use the tool originally, this isn't for you. I'm not taking shots at autotune in general. I love me some good music that has some autotune on there. So this is not a shot at everybody who uses autotune. But a lot of people, they use autotune and they just use it like the same famous artists that they heard use. So just type in Travis Scott type autotune or type in anybody type autotune, and then there's gonna be hundreds of tutorials on that, just like the other, the tutorials I showed you here just a moment ago. And so that's partly what's killing music as well, is that if every artist has the same, they're sounding the exact same because they're using autotune, it's just killing music. So EA Ski said something. It's a little different than how I'm gonna apply it to context in this video, but basically he was talking about sound. And he was talking about how the MPCs sound different and how older equipment sounds better than new equipment because the digital stuff is thinner and so on and so forth. Well, the same thing applies to like music. So like when you're thinking about autotune, now in today's society, we don't have as many pure singers as we did in the past. And like pure singers are a gift, you know, because they have to spend years and years and years molding their voice so they can hit all these notes and they can do all these things. But nowadays, it's like we just have autotune, and now anybody can slap autotune on their voice and you know be a singer. And I've been in multiple debates, and this is absolutely ridiculous to me. I've been in multiple debates over the last 3 years with multiple people, and they use autotune, and they say that they are just as good of singers as people who don't use autotune, which blows my mind that somebody who has to use a tool to sound okay on a track can think that they are as good of a singer as somebody like a Mariah Carey or a Whitney Houston, somebody who has been singing their whole life and they don't need any kind of auto-tune on a track in order for them to be good. They could literally go out and do a concert right now without any auto-tune and they're gonna sound phenomenal. Well, maybe not Whitney, RIP, but you get what I'm saying. Like they think that because they have this computer generated tool that makes them sound better, that they are as good as artists who don't need it, which is wild to me. Again, I'm not knocking auto-tune and I'm not knocking the tool, but what I'm saying is like a lot of artists just sound the same because you use the same tools, you're using auto-tune at the same speed, you're singing in the same pitch. So like when somebody who hears it, you know, especially an older cat hears it, it just all sounds the same. And then when you're rapping, when all of you guys are rapping and singing to a little Baby type beat, a little Dirk type beat, or a Young Thugger type beat, it all just sounds the same. It doesn't sound like there's any creativity. There's no nuance. There's no newness in what you're doing. It just is the same music regurgitated over and over and over again. And so another thing that kills me about this is it trains people's ears to think that now this new generation of auto-tune is better than the past generation. So we got Jeff Teague here, right? And this is probably one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Look, I mess with Jeff Teague, pause. This podcast is absolutely amazing, but what he's about to say here is one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my entire life.
They both sound very
This
bad.
nigga said Drake sings better than Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson could not sing. Y'all gonna sit here and tell me Michael Jackson can sing? When he got past ABC 1, 2, 3, when that nigga
Yeah,
start
we not.
turning
I
white.
swear to God, we not doing this for clickbait. on my mama, we
Once
not
that
doing this
nigga
for
start
clickbait.
turning white.
That's a real.
Like we're not
Hey,
doing
when he
this for
started turning
clickbait.
white, y'all gotta tell me his voice sounded good.
Wait, you said no. Wait, you gonna tell me he was Sammy Sosa? The voice did decline a little bit.
But yeah,
still,
don't act like he was just blowing
but it
away.
was never
We're not
fucking.
doing
But
it.
Drake
We're not doing this for
saying
clickbait,
he
y'all.
didn't sing better than Drake is the
They about equal to
conversation.
me. Michael Jackson cannot sing, bro. I'm not clickbait. I'm not trying to be, but I'm being for real, bro.
But you
His voice
saying
is-
Drake?
Bruh, that's one of the wildest things I've ever heard in my entire life, that Drake is a better singer than Michael Jackson. But as you can see, that's what consistently listening to autotune, what it's gonna do to the culture and the future generations, is that your ear gets so comfortable with hearing autotune that it becomes the norm. So listening to people sing with autotune becomes the norm versus hearing people's actual voices and hearing people actually sing. Because again, saying that Drake can sing better than Michael Jackson is absolutely wild when Michael Jackson wasn't using autotune, but Aubrey Drake has to use autotune. And then the last thing I want to mention on this topic is like another thing that people will say, well, you know, everybody's just using the same sounds, all these recycled sounds, like everybody's using Omnisphere or this and that. It's not the sounds, it's the way that the beats are being arranged and composed. Think about it. Pianos, guitars, and drums have been the main sounds of bands and like every kind of genre of music for how long? Not all music sounds the same. So music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all those different eras, but they were all using drums, they were all using guitars, they were all using different kinds of pianos and other different instruments here and there, you know what I'm saying? But the music sounded different because it had a different vibe, different melodies, just different grooves, all that kind of different stuff. So maybe the things that make music sound similar is maybe some of these sample makers. And again, I'm not knocking anybody who makes sample packs. I know there's a lot of solid sample pack makers out there. So this isn't a knock to you, but it's more of a knock to once we purchase that sample pack, how are we using those tools? Because if Cymatics makes a sample pack and 20,000 people buy that sample pack has 50 samples in it, well, if people aren't flipping the samples and they're continuing to put out the same melody and the same chords and all that stuff with just different drums behind it, well, the beat's still gonna sound similar, it's gonna sound the same. So all the people who are using those samples without flipping the samples, pitching them down, chopping them up, reversing them, doing any change into those samples, you're just kind of adding on to the problem of music sounding the same. Again, I'm not knocking any sample makers. I'm not telling you not to buy samples. I'm not telling you to do any of that. But if you hop on Slice and a Slice sample has been downloaded by 100,000 people or purchased by 100,000 people, and you're not doing anything different than the last person to the sample, then all you're doing is making a similar beat to the last person. I mean, how many people want to hear that same beat, that same melody, that same sound? So I guess that's basically what I got for you guys. I mean, ultimately, is music becoming unoriginal? Yes and no. There are still going to be a ton of artists out there. You got to find them, but there's a ton of artists out there that are making original music, that are making fire music, that have their own sound, that just make good music. And then there's always going to be, you know, people who are scared maybe to try to make their own original sound or try to be themselves. But just think about it like this is my last point. Every single producer that you're going to be like, who you're making tight beats like, and who you're doing things to be like them, they had to step out there and they had to be original in order for them to blow up. So Metro Boomin had to take a chance before he could, you know, blow up and people wanted to make Metro Boomin type beats. Kanye freaking made the 808s popular by trying something different and completely changed hip hop by just doing something different. Yes, T-Pain is the one who really blew up autotune, but he tried something different. He blew up autotune. So maybe you take that autotune and you do something different than just trying to sound like every other artist out there that's using autotune. So again, I'm not trying to make this an old man rant. I just want to see music continue to move forward. I'm not the old guy that hates on young guys. I want to see all you guys win. But, you know, that's what I got for you guys today. Make sure if you guys do like this content, though, you drop a whole elbow on that like button, hit subscribe and that notification bell so every time we bring you guys a new video, you can be the first to see. Appreciate you guys' time as always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. Man, my voice is cracked there, and I'm going to leave this in.
Some, hit the key.